Hello everyone and welcome back to Winter Data Meetup. I hope you are all enjoying the insightful talks and discussions we've had so far. Meet Nikolay, manager in data science. Discover how generative AI is revolutionizing the world of oil and gas industry. Don't miss this opportunity to explore cutting-edge technology reshaping the future of oil and gas. Now, before we dive into our next session, I'd like to take a moment to ask for your support in helping us to grow our community and recognize the speakers. First, if you enjoyed the content we are providing and want to stay updated on future events and talks, please consider hitting like and subscribe buttons below this video. Now, for something a bit special, in the video description below, you will find a link to the talk page where you can provide your feedback on this talk, give speaker a badge, and rate the session if you like it or if you don't like. Through the talk, if you have any burning questions or insights you'd like to share, don't hesitate to type them in the chat box in YouTube or via community platform, depending on where you're watching us. Our team will be monitoring the chat closely and will collect all these questions to discuss with the speaker after the presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our speaker to share his valuable insights. Nikolay, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sasha, and thank you for inviting me a second time in a row. So hopefully this presentation will be beneficial for you guys listening. So right, let me begin for myself. So my name is Nikolay Kurbatov. I take a role of Manager Data Science and Product Management at EPAM, and I've been working with AI and DS products and projects for last plus minus 6 years, and my overall experience is about 9 years as a whole in product management. So now, without further ado, let me give you briefly overview of what we will discuss today. So I will go over some LNG industry trends, then I will specify some changes in GenAI specifically for oil and gas products. Then we will discuss best practices, and last part of the presentation, to my personal opinion, probably the most interesting one, I will discuss some use cases I have based on my experience in terms of oil and gas, in terms of GenAI products used in oil and gas domain, right? Okay, so regarding the trends, so I take it with a grain of salt. Trends could be changing. I wouldn't cover it as much since it's not like, super heavy oil and gas trends discussion. But overall, you can see that, of course, there are some mergers and acquisitions happening in 2023, and probably will happen in 2024 as well. Energy crisis is still happening. It's not yet. It's not, hasn't been ended yet. But still, there are some, good trajectory, to my personal opinion, about it. Now, also, there are some global upstream investments happening right now. But we have to, also factor inflation into this equation. And lastly, probably the most interesting trend, at least from my point of view, is maximizing operations with some disruptive technology. And when I say disruptive technology, I obviously mean some AI, DS, and of course GenAI as a product of it. So that's probably the most interesting part of trends. And of course, upskilling workforce, which is essential for every domain, and more specifically for oil and gas as well. So now, challenges in GenAI oil and gas products. So basically, guys, if you are familiar somewhat with the data science and the AI projects and products, those challenges probably wouldn't be that, surprising for you, right? So basically, it's all about data integration and quality, regulatory compliance and security, cost and ROI, and scalability and flexibility. However, let me take some, more details in terms of the first one, right, about data integration and quality. My personal opinion, if we are able to solve, 80% of issues coming from data integration and quality, that will potentially give a lot of boost to any data science AI-powered product, not to mention GenAI as well. However, for GenAI, there are some, specifics regarding lack of, again, based on my experience, lack of streamlined, continuous improvement, continuous delivery process specifically for GenAI, because GenAI is kind of interesting in terms of R&D, and it would work very well in terms of R&D domain. But then it comes to how you actually productionalize it, how you operationalize it, how you make it at scale, right? And that's some tough questions, which are we as EPAM trying to solve as well. But yeah, that's some of the challenges which I would like to draw your attention to. Of course, last but not least is cost and ROI, because again, so in terms of light hat R&D, you do not need to worry about ROI as of yet. But then when you need to assess the actual product impact, Gen AI product impact on the business metrics, that's a bit different picture, right? So that's another challenge which we need to overcome when we think about Gen AI products as a whole, right? So, and best practices, how potentially we can solve those challenges, right? So basically, for the data integration quality, well, obviously that's some utilization of advanced tools for efficient data consolidation. One tool which comes to my mind is AWS OpenSearch. Has proven to be quite useful according to my experience. Of course, there are lots of other tools as well present from other vendors, but this one is, to my mind, again, I had just more experience to this. That's why I put it here. So another one is focus on data quality. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have good quality of data when we speak about any data science AI-related product, as well as Gen AI, right? So it's simple rule, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Nothing has changed since that. True for Gen AI, more so as well. Now, also important point to highlight is compliance and security, because you know that LLMs, Gen AI is like ChatGPT and so on and so forth. You have to be very compliant with how your company, which would like to use Gen AI, looks at it. You have to challenge it a bit because, for example, you don't want you do not want to use, OpenAI APIs, for example, for some reason. That's why you would like to build some internal tools which will use very strict compliance rules. So yeah, I suggest to put some time into discussion within your legal team, IT team, how to actually, not to break anything in terms of legality, right? Now, as I said, cost and ROI concerns, the best advice here will be just start small, prove that your hypothesis is working on a small to medium scale project, and then based on this, you can demonstrate the value, and based on that, you can move forward. So again, quite similar to any data science AI project. Although for Gen AI, it could be a bit more tricky, right? But still, the approach stays more or less the same. And the last one, probably which I would like to highlight, is a part of scalability and flexibility, specifically agile development process and the MLOps. So when I say MLOps, I of course think about CI/CD, right? But specifically for Gen AI, there are some bit different approach in terms of MLOps, in terms of how you create good enough infrastructure, right, to monitor your model on production, to understand how your current data preparation is working on, whether you have any data shifts, data drifts, model shifts, and so on. So I would again advise start early with MLOps. It shouldn't be that super fancy, super high-tech solution. It should be simple enough for you as a data scientist, as a product owner, just to understand how your process is working on from, okay, data scientist has completed their job in terms of development. Now we move model to production. Now we need to update the model. How we're doing this? Do we versionize data set or not? Do we versionize the model or not? This kind of stuff. It shouldn't be that hard. Again, depends on the use case, but still, you can start small here as well, and then implement more advanced approaches along the right. So, right, and again, the probably one of the most important part or interesting parts about this deck is use cases. So let me like pause here a bit, right? So basically, Gen AI could be used for lots of stuff. Now, dynamic recommendations could be a part of it, because based on our experience is EPAM. So, for example, think about it as you as a subject matter expert provide like virtual subject matter expert, basically, right? Could provide near to real-time or real-time assistance to operators who are working on the field, right? To experts, to engineers, explaining existing, documentations or manuals, and summarize them, basically, right? So that's one of the most, to my mind, one of the most powerful parts of Gen AI is the summarization. It's, again, it has been proven in the industry that it's really good at it, right? Now, specifically for this use case for oil and gas, right? So this Gen AI agent or virtual SME could, generate some impact or KPI reports, could provide you trend given current condition. To my point of view, this is very useful. It's saves lots of time from not the engineering, from the level of how much time does it need for operator or expert or engineer to assess the data, to deduce based on this data some trends. Now Gen AI could do it much faster, hence increasing their productivity, right? And also, produce some, again, fluid recommendations based on multiple structured or non-structured resources. So overall, we can summarize it as a summarization of incoming data in the human readable form, and then based on that, provide some recommendations how expert could act upon it, right? Now, second one is assistance system. Now, this one is a bit different. So again, as we discussed earlier, so for the dynamic recommendations part, also we can, through Gen AI agent, we can provide some specific recommendations, which potentially could be tailored to per well and ESP, again, provided we had enough data before that, right? So it all works only if you have enough data for the model to train on. That's kind of a golden rule. Now, this experience could be a bit more like ChatGPT. So imagine you, again, as a production engineer, like interact with the system, asking, to collect or analyze certain information about a given well or a given ESP. And based on this, again, you can understand how you can act upon it, right? So again, this is a bit more extended in terms of summarization. It's more like you will interact with the system more like in a chat-based level, but still provides, some kind of semi-automated error corrections and ensures that information is consistent across the company. And last one is a report generation. So basically, Gen AI could create, workover required for documentation. So basically, it means that this agent could, again, collect the data, highlight the important parts in this data, and then generate a report based on the format engineer needs to, so that engineer could save a certain amount of time for this preparation of reports. Because my experience indicates that engineers tend to spend, well, I could be wrong, but at least several hours per day generating these reports. And then again, so as I discussed earlier, Gen AI could be, if provided it was trained well on the curated or just good enough data, summarization is a quite strong point of it, and hence this is the good, maybe one of the best ways how Gen AI model could make any engineer on the work field, on the well field, be more productive, right? So basically generate this workover documentation. Again, not fully automatically, probably, because it still has some, potential improvement to make it automatically, but initially, if it will be semi-automatically, it will still be quite efficient for the engineer to save on time for this, right? So, yep, basically that's it. And actually, I should include that this reports could be, for production history or well integrity or workover reports. Again, based on what you will feed to this Gen AI agent, it could output you, any variation of this kind of reports. So, yep, that's basically it. I was trying to be as concise and, solid as possible in terms of the content. So I didn't really like, have lots of slides. I would very well prefer to speak it out loud or to answer some questions if I can. So, yep, that concludes my part.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nikolay. Yeah, so let's move to questions. We have them several. So just, yeah, could you maybe explain in simple words how generative AI and oil and gas can be connected? Yeah, maybe for you it's understandable, but like for me, for example, okay, understand oil and gas. Okay, oil and gas and generative AI. So how can it be like connected?
Good question. Sorry, maybe guys, I wasn't specific enough with this. So, well, basically, generative AI. What does it mean as a whole, right? It generates something, because ChatGPT generate you an answer based on your question. Some DALI or other agents, they generate you a picture based on your description or something like this. So basically, in essence, Gen AI generate you some output based on your input. Now, your input could be very well different. It could be text, it could be image, it could be something else. Specifically for oil and gas, imagine you are a production engineer working in the field, and you would like to know what will happen if you say produce, I don't know, if you increase the temperature in the given motor, or if you do something like X, how it will be output as in Y, right? So here Gen AI could help you specifically in oil and gas to provide this potential quote unquote simulation if something happens. Also, it could provide you a recommendation what you need to do if something has already happened or is about to happen, right? So this is again, on one approach, it's a kind of interaction between you and the agent, which knows a lot of stuff and could help you with this knowledge so that you can act upon it, right? So that's why I call it dynamic recommendation or specific recommendation or whatever. It's basically a recommendation, right? Now, another point is a summarization, as I mentioned earlier. So again, if you have ever interacted with a Gen AI, such as ChatGPT or BART, now Gemini or any other model, you probably know that, or actually if you interact with the Grammarly, right? Grammarly is super cool tool for making your English better than it is. I use it all the time. So it could improve what you send to it, right? It could consume lots of different type of information, and based on this consumption, it could give you a summarization of something, whatever it is, right? Based on your input, and you can act upon this summarization as well. So that just assume probably the most closest example would be if you again interacted with this kind of application. So there are some applications which take a book and then make a summary of this book in kind of 15 or something pages, outlining the most important part. Now, before LLM models disrupt the AI world, it was people who were reading the book, and then they could give you a summarization, right, based on their knowledge. Now, this could be done by Gen AI model now. So this is again a summarization of something. It shouldn't be a report specifically; could be anything. But for oil and gas, it's more about reports, which are a big part of the work of engineer in the field. Let me know, guys, if I was able to answer this question.
Yeah, so that's this part regarding like safe assistance really interesting. So does it mean that it like monitors it live? So I mean that something like, okay, for example, system works and there are some engineers and I don't know, somewhere temperature increased and it can, for example, analyze live that, hey, something about to happen. Yeah, you need to, I don't know, switch off this
Yeah,
device
good.
to stay safe. Or it's not analyzing live and like, I don't know, engineer needs to like ask question directly spend some time to ask about the problem, or it can analyze live and react.
Actually, very good question. Now let's divide it. Firstly, you do not need Gen AI to do this stuff because you can use some classification or regression or any other machine learning model to predict that something is about to, well, before you predict, you need to detect, right? If you need to detect if something has happened already, and then you can act upon it. Now, the next stage is prediction, and it could be done through a machine learning model which was trained on the previously available data. And actually, I can even simplify this. You can even do it through rule-based technique. You don't even need ML, but actually you can do both ML plus non-ML approach, which will result in a prediction of something is about to happen and how you can act upon it. So you can do it through machine learning approach, right? We have a rule-based approach. Now, Gen AI could take it to the next stage, because then you as an engineer interact with the system will output you, hey, potentially you have, I don't know, if you guys familiar with the oil and gas, let me actually use another example. So potentially you have some physical event inside the well. You as an engineer, trained engineer in oil and gas field, you know what this event does mean for you and how it potentially could affect, how much oil will be pumped in the period of time later, right? So you know how to act upon it, but system gives you information, and based on this information, you can actually accept it or reject it or do whatever you want. So that's, again, that's a part of recommendation idea behind it. Now, Gen AI could take it further. It could be more, first of all, more personalized. So it could say, hey, Nick, provided it does know you're Nick, right, or any other person. Let's use my name for this example. So it could say, hey, Nick, there is a potential, like, I don't know, 65 probability chance you will have certain physical event in the given well, say in the next, I don't know, 2 hours. This example is completely made up, right? Just bear with me. And then you could ask this Gen AI model, okay, what I need to do, basically, right? Probably you do know what to do, but you can ask, of course, and it could give you some kind of structured summary or approach what you can do with it. Also, if we even take it even more steps further, now 2 steps further from the initial approach, right, of simple recommendation from simple or not so simple ML model, it could say, okay, if you do not do something with this specific physical event, your production optimization will suffer X or Y or something like that. And the potential applications will be here as follows. Now, this example, which I just said, is a bit, well, it's not like science fiction, but in order to provide this kind of granular recommendation, your model, your Gen AI model, your data science infrastructure, everything behind it should be very well thought in advance. You have to have very, very good and trustworthy data set. The data set should have a nice signal. So I don't want to bother you with a lot of details, but in order to arrive to this step, you have to actually begin from the step 0, which I just mentioned. Because, as I said before, Gen AI looks very promising in a lot of fields, The issue, the drawback or change with it is that it looks easy until it's not, right? In terms of production-like implementation, anything connected to production-like systems requires very, sometimes very difficult engineering approach to be done beforehand, right? But overall speaking, that's probably a possibility. If you ask me, I would give it, I don't know, 50% chance that it's possible. So again, sorry, I maybe used a lot of words to describe this, but I wanted to give you very clear idea that if we have currently, GPT-4, or we will have GPT-5 sometime or so, and so on and so forth, and some advancements in the field, in the field of AI, right? It doesn't mean it could be really easily translated into actual domain as hard as oil and gas, because oil and gas has lots of differences to, like, obviously other domains, but some rules in oil and gas have to be followed, in order to use the product. So I would put it like this. Hopefully I answered this question.
Yeah, great. We have one more interesting question. Does it make sense to host any? Does it make any sense to host LLM instance for the project separately, so to comply with any PII requirements without with personal information?
Yes, short answer is probably yes. More longer version of my answer is you need to consult with the legal IT part of the team of the company, because normally you see how it works. You should, if you use any open source product and you expose it to the internet, well, the nature how OpenAI works, right? So the OpenAI has, of course, corporate solutions, as far as I know, and they have public solutions. Now, if you use just OpenAI normally as a person, not as an employee, to ask, what will be the weather tomorrow based on my current location, blah blah. It learns from your data set, from your input, basically, right? So that means that it will use your information forward. That's why it's like, don't advise to put any code, of course, and so on. If you want to, you can, but this is a different topic to discuss. That's why, this is touching the topic of responsible AI, basically, right? And here I would, again, majority of my answer is yes, you have to use some closed perimeter, so to speak, if you would like to use LLM on a corporate level. Otherwise, I don't think you want to even go to this route. So I would definitely suggest to use internal. I would definitely suggest to discuss it with legal team, because they have maybe different approach. But I do know for sure that there are lots of solutions which give you an opportunity to use LLM model, not as powerful maybe as ChatGPT, but less powerful, but still good, right? Like Llama or any other type of LLM. There are a lot of techniques how to make it happen, but basically you do not need to use super fancy state-of-the-art model to have good enough results for you. So but again, on a corporate level, that definitely should be kind of internal closed perimeter. Although, again, I could be wrong here. I do know that Microsoft has corporate solutions. Basically, if you host in Azure, maybe they will. I don't know yet. I haven't checked that. But if you host in Azure, like your data is already in cloud, already in Microsoft servers, right? So they will have an ability to to use Copilot or any other product specifically designed for your company based on your requirements. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not Microsoft employee. I cannot comment it, but to my mind, this kind of approach sounds reasonable, at least for me. So at least for a corporate level, and I think this is the way to go for lots of vendors who can give customers power of LLM. So that would be my point.
Yeah, we have one more question, maybe more specific to oil and gas. Cognito uses AI embedded in their product, but it's locked to their data model and works pretty well. Is there such thing for bots or any other data model for oil and gas?
Good question. I do know about Cognito, although I have never used it, so I'm very limited in terms of my knowledge. So please take it with a grain of salt as well. So the good part is I understood from the question and why Cognito works, because they have closed data. Okay, basically, maybe, I don't know, again, I'm not Cognito employee, but maybe they trained their model on the good enough, large enough, of course, anonymized probably data set covering several, or I don't know, a number of use cases where the model, outputs good results, and then they kind of use it for sale. So this is how potentially it could work, right? You are, as a service provider, you create something based on the good enough data, and then you can tailor this to the specific use case of a customer. Again, can't comment for Cognito, but to my point, from the engineering standpoint, where I could try to comment, right, is that first of all, in order to use your model for variety of use cases, you need to be sure that your model was trained on those variety of use cases, which you probably don't know beforehand, right? So that means that you need to limit. Okay, so I understand that my model could predict certain physical event with this kind of probability, or detect and then predict. And also, I understand that my model could do recommendations based on this, physical event or something, right? But that could be, again, quite limited to the amount of data you use for learning. Because rule number one in any data science project is that even if you received quite good results on test data, again, short data science 1-to-1, trained data is the data model used for training, test data model have never seen and tested against it, right? So basically, you as a data scientist could understand how model is behaving good or bad based on the test data set. Now, there is another challenge. Even if your data set results are quite promising or even good, right, it will still not give you 100% certainty that your model will perform good on real life data set, right? That's the thing. So long story short, your model should always, receive updated data set, updated version of data set, updated to the current situation, so that it could learn new signals from it, right? So again, I may be a bit derailed from the initial question, but it is how it is. Here, Gen AI is not much different from traditional data science project. So data rules are still the same.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you, Nick. So I think that's all for this session today. So if you have any other questions, you can ask them on talk page, and Nick will answer them offline after the event. So you can find this link on the video description below. And there you also can provide a feedback for this talk and give speaker a badge and rate for the session if you like or if you don't like. And additionally, you can revisit the page of the talk where you can download the presentation, and you also can watch this recording if you haven't started from the very beginning. So thank you very much, Nick, for the coming, and it couldn't happen without you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your time, and have a great week ahead.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.